Grace and peace to you. Welcome to Morning Watch. I'm Rob, one of the pastors here at White Plains. Glad to have you with us today on a Thursday. This is where we gather for a song and a thought for the day. So glad you're with us whenever you're watching. Good morning, Terry. Morning, Robin. Morning, Florida. All right. Thank you for being here. Let's begin our time together by going to God in prayer. Meet me, O Christ, in this stillness of morning. Move me, O Spirit, to quiet my heart. And mend me, O Father, from yesterday's harms. From the discords of yesterday, resurrect my peace. From the discouragement of yesterday, resurrect my hope. From the weariness of yesterday, resurrect my strength. And from the doubts of yesterday, resurrect my faith. From the wounds of yesterday, resurrect my love. And let me enter this new day, aware of my need and awake to your grace, O Lord. I'm in and I'm in. Morning, Kenna. And good morning to you whenever you're watching. Thanks for being here. All right. So today, as I mentioned yesterday, we're entering a new section in our spiritual classics book, which is focused on writings that are separated out by their relevance to particular spiritual disciplines. We've been talking about worship. Now we're moving into a section on guidance. Remember, these are outward, corporate disciplines that we do together as opposed to inward disciplines like prayer and fasting. So, guidance. And today's writer, as I'm sure you're looking forward to with me, is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And when I thought about what kind of song I would do, U2 songs just came to mind. You know, we could do spirituals. There's a lot of different things we could do, but so I thought through a lot of different U2 songs. Obviously, One More in the Name of Love, but I've not really done that one before. I don't feel super comfortable playing that one. I eventually settled on Walk On. Walk On is a song inspired by a political prisoner, and it's a song of encouragement to keep going. It evolved into a song of for anyone who's in a difficult situation, who needs to just keep believing what they believe and keep doing what they're doing. So, good morning, Faye. So here you go. Here's my best shot at Walk On by U2. Buckle up. Said to myself, right? Love is not the easy thing, the only baggage you can bring. Love is not the easy thing. The only baggage you can bring is all that you can't leave behind. Darkness is to keep us apart, and if the daylight feels like it's a long way off, if your glass heart should crack for a second, you turn back. Oh no, be strong. Get it to scroll. Walk on. What you got, they cannot steal it. No, they can't even feel it. Walk on. hurts and your heart it breaks, and you can only take so much. Walk on, walk on. All that you fashion, all that you make, all that you build, and all that you break, and all that you measure, all that you feel, all that you can leave behind, and all that you reason needs only time. All that I'm feeling in my mind, and all that you sense, and all that you scheme, all you dress up, and all that you see. Walk on, stay safe tonight. There you go. That's the song, of course, that I referenced in the message on for the All Saints service. I love that line about packing up a suitcase to a place that none of us have been, a place that has to be believed to be seen. Oh, me. All right. So, what can we say about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? Lived from 1929 to 1968. He, of course, was an eloquent African-American Baptist minister who led the civil rights movement in the United States from the mid-1950s until his death by assassination in 1968. Through his dynamic leadership, the movement was remarkably effective in removing racial barriers that had been firmly entrenched for many generations. Rising to national prominence through the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, King advocated love and nonviolent action, insisting that such action was courageous and would work better than any violent protest. One signal triumph of this strategy was the massive March on Washington in 1963, which he led personally. A high point of that event, of course, was the I Have a Dream speech given on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964, and the United States Congress voted in 1986 to establish Martin Luther King Day, the third Monday in January, as a national holiday. As a preacher, King was deeply formed by Southern black preaching and ministry. Both his father and his maternal grandfather were Baptist preachers. But through his education, holding a PhD from Boston University, he was also formed by contemporary Protestant theologians, among them Paul Tillich and Reinhold Niebuhr. King's idea of God was active and personal. Faith in God's guidance was essential. Vague notions such as social progress did not motivate him. It's interesting, I'm going to stop for just a second to say it's interesting that Foster does not name Howard Thurman, who we know was an influence in King's life. King wrote about having a copy of Jesus and the Dispossessed on him. So it's interesting he doesn't mention Thurman's influence. I feel it's notable. King's idea of God was active and personal. Faith in God's guidance was essential. Vague notions such as social progress did not motivate him. Instead, he was shaped by biblical stories, understanding God's prophetic work as an ongoing thing. In standing firm against threats of violence against himself and his family, King chose Jesus as his fundamental model for action. It was the Sermon on the Mount, he wrote, rather than a doctrine of passive resistance, that initially inspired the Negroes of Montgomery to dignified social action. It was Jesus of Nazareth that stirred us to protest with the creative weapon of love. In the reading that follows, it's taken from the essay Walk with Freedom, published in 1956. King elaborates on this vision of Christian courage and love. So he's writing here on love and nonviolence. This is a spiritual movement, and we intend to keep these things in the forefront. We know that violence will defeat our purpose. We know that our struggle in America and our specific struggle here in Montgomery, violence will not only be impractical, but immoral. We are outnumbered. We do not have access to the instruments of violence. Even more than that, not only is violence impractical, it is also immoral. For it is my firm conviction that to seek to retaliate with violence does nothing but intensify the existence of evil and hate in the universe. Along the way of life, someone must have sense enough and morality enough to cut off the chain of hate and evil. The greatest way to do that is through love. I believe firmly that love is a transforming power that can lift the whole community to new horizons of fair play, goodwill, and justice. Love is our instrument. Love is our great instrument and our great weapon. And on that alone. On January 30th, my home was bombed. My wife and baby were there. I was attending a meeting, and I first heard of the bombing at the meeting when someone came to me and mentioned it. I tried to accept it in a calm manner. I first inquired about my wife and daughter, and then after I found out that they were all right, I stopped in the midst of the meeting, and I spoke to the group, and I urged them not to be panicky and not to do anything about it because that was not the way. I immediately came home, and on entering the front of the house, I noticed that there were some 500 to 1,000 persons. I came to the house and looked it over, and went back to see my wife, and to see if the baby was all right. But as I stood in the back of the house, hundreds and hundreds of people were still gathering. I saw that violence was becoming a possibility. It was at that time that I went to the porch. I tried to say to the people that we could not allow ourselves to be panicky. We could not allow ourselves to retaliate with any type of violence, but that we were still to confront the problem with love. One statement that I made, and I believe it very firmly, was, "He who lives by the sword will perish by the sword." I urged people to continue to manifest love, to continue to carry on the struggle with the same dignity and with the same discipline that we had started out with. I think at the time the people did decide to go home and things did get quiet. It ended up with a great deal of calmness and a great deal of discipline, which I think our community should be proud of, and which I was very proud to see, because our people were determined not to retaliate with violence. Hold to nonviolence. Some 26 of the ministers and almost 100 of the citizens of the city were indicted in this boycott. But we realized in the beginning that we would confront experiences that would make for great sacrifices, experiences that are not altogether pleasant. We decided among ourselves that we would stand up to the finish, and that is what we are determined to do. In the midst of the indictments, we still hold to this nonviolent attitude and this primacy of love, the primacy of love. Even though convicted, we will not retaliate with hate, but will stand with love in our hearts and stand resisting injustice with the same determination with which we started out. We need a great deal of encouragement in this movement. Of course, one thing that we are depending on from not only other communities, but from our own community, is prayer. We ask people everywhere to pray that God will guide us, pray that justice will be done, and that righteousness will stand. And I think through these prayers, we will be strengthened. It will make us feel the unity of the nation and the presence of Almighty God. For as we said all along, this is a spiritual movement. Amen, right? I love how he begins and ends with the phrase, "This is a spiritual movement." Dr. King understands that while the people are vital to the movement, it is only through the will and movement of God that a mountain like racism can be moved. And so he asks for prayer. He asks for unity. He asks to feel the unity of the nation, a nation that we know was horribly divided. And yet he begs for prayers. At least in prayer we can be unified before God. That God is God and we are not. It's a starting point. He says, through these prayers we will be strengthened. It is a spiritual movement. We're reminded, of course, of Jesus' actions toward the guards that come to arrest him in the Garden of Gethsemane, and from Matthew 26. When Peter reacts by drawing his sword, Jesus says, "Put away your sword." People love to point to the example of Jesus turning over tables. Yeah, there's one example of Jesus demonstrating a somewhat violent act. But how many more times, especially even when his own life was threatened, did Jesus respond with love, compassion, while not surrendering what he was standing for or fighting for? I find it fascinating that how Dr. King was able to react, and perhaps there's the Reinhold Niebuhr influence from this Niebuhr's Serenity Prayer, but how he was able to react with calm to the attack upon his family. I've heard many people say, well, I'm a nonviolent person, but if you come after my family, you're going to get it. Right? But even with his home attacked and his wife and child in danger, Dr. King was able to maintain an inner calm that defies all explanation, a peace that passes understanding. I don't know about you, I'll be doing a little additional reading today, perhaps watching the I Have a Dream speech, as I think about Dr. King and how much his words are needed today. It needs to be a spiritual movement, indeed. All right, thanks for being here. May you find peace and purpose in this day. I'll look forward to seeing you again tomorrow for another Morning Watch. Take care.